It is Sunday, March 24th, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I'm Matt Modai, and I'm here to give you my 4 favorite NBA player props for tonight's NBA betting slate. Of course, before we can get into today, we got to do a recap from yesterday, which ended up being another day that was not great, but not horrible either. On my mainline plays, specifically, we went 3 and 2 on those. Didn't cash either of the plus money bangers. Fred VanVleet, 10 plus assists, was an L. Bogdanovic, 4 plus made 3-pointers, was an L. But we were able to cash DeMar DeRozan over 22.5 points. We cashed Kevin Durant over 27.5 points plus assists. And we cashed Sam Hauser over 3.5 made 3-pointers, which I gave out later in the day. 3 and 2 on mainline plays, up 1 unit. Unfortunately, our cold streak, specifically with ladders, continued yesterday. I didn't cash any of my 4 ladder plays. Pritchard didn't come through for us. Kevin Durant didn't come through for us from a ladder perspective. 0-4 on ladder plays, down 1.6 units. So for those of you that don't play the ladder plays, that just play the mainline plays, you're feeling pretty good recently. But the ladder plays, we have not been performing well recently. Hopefully we can turn that around today. On the entire season, obviously the success that we're having is still incredible. We're up 82.39 units on the season. Our ladder plays, we are up 3.57 units, but that's been down the past couple weeks. I just started tracking that on February 24th. Immediately started out on fire when I started tracking the ladder plays, but for the past 10, 14 days or so, it hasn't been doing great. So again, hopefully we can turn that around today. As for today, as I mentioned, I have 4 more bangers for you guys. Would appreciate it if you are not already. If you could subscribe to my YouTube channel and then, of course, like and comment this video. But enough of that. Let's get into today's bangers. So the first play that we're going to go ahead and lock in here, this is in the Thunder versus Bucks game. I'm taking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 30.5 points. This is best offered at -124 odds at BetRivers. So I gave out a couple plays last night on my dub club. This was one of them. We got it at -110 odds, so we did get a little bit of CLV value there. It's now at -124. I would still take it at this number. I wouldn't play him above 30.5 points, and I probably wouldn't play this above -130 either. So if you can get it at these numbers, I would take it there. That over 30.5 number is the key for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. For whatever reason, he loves to finish with exactly 31 points. I'm not sure why, but that 30.5 number is a key one for him. One thing that I did like about this play, and that's a positive for us, is this was a pretty high, pretty juicy positive expected value play, specifically via unabated in their market-based projections. They project Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to score actually over 32 points in that game. So from their perspective, the over 31.5 would still be a play. I wouldn't personally recommend it, but if you want to follow their projections, you can. I love when unabated agrees with the play that we have. And this is just an excellent matchup for SGA to score a bunch of points. We've talked about the Bucks defense all year. What do? They play drop coverage on pick and rolls. So for guys that can run a lot of pick and rolls and that can pull up, they just score a ton of points against the Bucks. Just ridiculous. That's perfect for SGA, who's one of the best pick and roll guards in the NBA, and he's one of the best pull-up guards in the NBA as well. He doesn't shoot a ton from 3, but that's okay in this matchup. He doesn't necessarily need to, and if he makes 2 from 3-point range, that would be great. Over the last 10 games, so looking at a 10-game sample size here, the Bucks are allowing the second highest frequency of shots against them be pull-up jump shots. So that includes catch and shoot, that includes layups, dunks at the rim, whatever. They allow the second highest frequency of shots against them, again, to be pull-up jump shots. Overall, they're allowing the 3rd most made pull-ups in the NBA, again, over the last 10 games, on the 4th most attempts as well. Great news for SGA. Over the last 10 games, SGA has scored the 2nd most points in the entire NBA via pull-ups. That's not even on the Thunder, which by far he's scoring the most pull-ups, but that's over the entire NBA, again, over the last 10 games. The only player scoring more above him is DeJounte Murray, who's just been cooking. But that's more pull-up points than Steph, than Luka, than Damian Lillard, all these guys. SGA's above them. He's even attempting more 3-pointers than normal, which is great. He's top 20 in terms of 3-point attempts in this 10-game sample size as well. So again, if he makes 2 3-pointers in this game, that would be great. The Bucks are also allowing the 2nd most points per game, specifically to pick and roll ball handlers in the NBA. And SGA is scoring the 7th most points per game as the main pick and roll ball handler. A ton of reasons why we love SGA in this matchup. I'm very confident he's going to come through for us. Next up, actually, we're sticking in the same game here. We're taking Giannis Antetokounmpo over 5.5 assists. This is best offered at -124 odds at Bet365. So for this play, to be honest, this was one of the better plays that I've had from a strictly mathematical perspective. Not even looking at the matchup, this checked a lot of boxes, again, from just like an expected value mathematical perspective. Number one, unabated has him going over 6 assists. That will be Giannis. They have him at about 6.5 assists in this one. So another play that we get to match up with their market-based projections. This was also an incredible price on Bet365 as well. We got it at -120. If you look at the other sports books, they're offering this around the -160s number, or they're offering it his over-under at 6.5. So that's a really big deal for us. This is a play that I would play up to -140, but I wouldn't play it above that. And another projection system, I admittedly don't use them a ton, so I don't put a ton of stock into this, but props.cash also projects Giannis to have over 6 assists in this game as well. So it just checked a lot of boxes from a value perspective, from EV betting, price shopping, stuff like that, without even talking about the matchup, which is a great matchup for Giannis assist as well. The Thunder defense, yes, they are very good, but they're a good matchup for Giannis assist. According to Courtside Pal, the Thunder are giving up the second most assists per game, specifically to Giannis's playmaking style, the most assists per game when you look at his scoring profile, and the third most to his rebounding style. Again, looking at Courtside Pal, who groups players together by similar playmaking profiles, one comparable playmaker to Giannis is Zion Williamson, and Zion had 8 assists against the Thunder when the Pelicans and the Thunder last played. And Giannis has always been a pretty good playmaker in his career. He's been pretty good on the season, and he's been pretty good recently as well. He's gone over 5.5 assists in 6 of his last 10 games, but twice in the stretch where he didn't go over, he had exactly 5. That would be a bummer if we got hooked, but at least shows you that the floor is there, and the ceiling is there as well. He's gotten 10-plus assists twice in this stretch as well. It's also nice that we get to fade recent results with this play. He's missed it in 2 of his last 3 games, but he had cashed it in 4 straight prior to that. And in the same 10-game stretch, he's got 13.6 potential assists. That's a great potential assist number for someone that we only need to get to 6 actual assists. This is a play that I'm also going to sprinkle him to get a triple-double as well. I'm just putting 0.2 units on that one. So for me, that's $20 on him to record a triple-double. That's plus 1050 odds, plus 1,050 odds at BetRivers. So mainline play over 5.5 assists. Sprinkle a ladder play, 0.2 units on him to record a triple-double as well. Let's hope Giannis comes through for us as our second play. Next up, third pick of the evening. This is in the 76ers versus Clippers game. And I'm taking James Harden over 30.5 points, rebounds, assists, -115 odds at FanDuel. I worry that for this play, maybe I'm getting a little bit too swept up by the narrative, because I try to avoid narrative plays mostly. But sometimes you just gotta dive into the narratives. And this is, the revenge spot for James Harden in this game is crazy. Even though the Sixers are playing without Embiid and they generally have been terrible recently, Harden clearly hates the Sixers. He hates Daryl Morey. And I just think this is going to be a game where we see kind of a vintage James Harden performance. I think he's going to be out for blood in this game, playing much more aggressively than you normally do. And then even if you take out the narrative, I like this as a points plus assists matchup for James Harden based on how the Sixers defense is currently playing. But I added rebounds as well, because if you just look at the matchups according to Courtside Pal, the Sixers are the rebounding against the Sixers is the best matchup of the 3. So I decided to add rebounds. But I like him from a points plus assists perspective. The Sixers have been giving up a ton of 3-pointers, specifically to point guards, and assists as well. And it's not like the 30.5 PRA number is way too high because of the revenge factor, right? He's catched this in 5 of his last 10 games and in 8 of his last 15. So 50% hit rate doesn't sound that great, but look at his splits. He's missed this in 4 of his last 5 games, and then he cashed it in the 4 or 5 prior to that. So another situation from which falls in line with my betting strategy of fading recent results, betting the opposite of what recently happened, which I love. I am going to have a ladder play for James Harden as well. I'm going to ladder him to 4+ made 3-pointers. That's at plus 190 odds at FanDuel. And I'm putting a half unit on that bad boy. I heavily considered his main line at 3-point prop as my official play here. But it's at 2.5 with the over pretty heavily juiced. So I didn't think that the over made sense from an odds and betting perspective, which is why I'm putting the full unit on the PRA as our main line play. And then I'm laddering him to 4+ made 3-pointers as well. As I mentioned, The Sixers have just been getting crushed from three-point range from point guards recently. 6 of the last 7 have cashed their three-point prop against the Sixers. So I think that the latter play is a very good matchup for him, along with the points and rebounds and assists as well. Let's hope Harden comes through for us as our third play. Next up, fourth and final pick of the video, Pelicans versus Pistons game, and I'm taking CJ McCollum over 20.5 points, minus 106 odds at FanDuel. So for this play, I have to admit, we are not fading recent results for this one. CJ just went off for 30 points last game, but no Brandon Ingram in this game again. And the matchup is so good against the Pistons that I'm comfortable riding with CJ again, even despite the fact that he just blew up. So CJ has played in 5 games this year without Brandon Ingram, taking out 1 game in which he played fewer than 15 minutes. Clearly an outlier there. Taking that game out, he's played 5 games without Brandon Ingram, and he's cashed the over 20.5 points in 4 of those 5 games, including 4 straight. And in the 1 game he missed, that game was played in October, and he had 19 points in that game. I just don't think that the books are properly adjusting CJ's line without Brandon Ingram in the lineup. In the 4 games that CJ went over, he scored 29, 33, 28, and 30 points. So it's not like he's just been going over. He's been crushing the over as well. And if you look at strictly when CJ is on the court and Brandon Ingram is not, so this includes obviously games where they play together, where they just don't share the floor, CJ averages over 5.5 more points per 36 minutes, according to RotoWire, again, when he's playing and Brandon Ingram is not. And now he gets an excellent matchup against a Pistons defense that is an absolute train wreck. According to Courtside Pal, the Pistons are allowing the 3rd most points per game to CJ's shooting profile and the 2nd most points per game to both his scoring and his playmaking style. These 2 teams have played earlier this year, happened to be a game in which Brandon Ingram missed, and CJ McCollum scored 33 points in that game. Looking at the matchup here, it kind of makes sense why it's such a good matchup for CJ McCollum. The Pistons allow the 3rd most points per game, specifically to pick and roll ball handlers. And with Brandon Ingram out of the lineup, CJ scores the most points on the Pelicans as the main pick and roll ball handler. I'll admit, this is also a good matchup for Zion as well because the Pistons allow a lot of points via isolation. Zion isos the most on the Pelicans. So if you wanted to parlay both him and CJ's over, I think both of them individually are good. I'm more comfortable with CJ McCollum, so that's when I'm going to make my official play. And that's all we got. 4 bangers for you guys to lock in. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And the last thing I'll mention, I mention it at the end of every video, is I do have a dub club. It's only $5 a month. And the way it works is you get my plays just sent directly to your phone via email, text, or Telegram, depending on how you have your settings set up. All the plays you see me give out on YouTube and Twitter for free, they are the plays that you get on Dub Club. You just get them sent to you early. So if you don't want to watch the YouTube videos, or if you don't care about the YouTube videos, or if by the time you watch the YouTube videos, the odds have already changed, that's why I added the Dub Club to give people the option of just getting everything sent directly to their phone and immediately. It's only $5 a month. The link to it is in the description of the video or the pinned comment. Whether you want to pay the $5 to get them sent early, or you would rather just get them for free on YouTube and on Twitter, it's totally fine with me. And that's all we got. So I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.